कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो Fiji 2 देश की धड़कन।
Good evening, Fiji. In this bulletin, opposition MP launches racist attack on AG. Wangavuka debate rages on in Parliament. And amended laws in place for pharmacy owners.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Jackie Spate.
Sadelpa MP Anare Chale this afternoon launched a racial attack on Attorney General Said Qayyum, saying the government MP is not wanted by the Ithauke community in the country. Chale's outburst raised eyebrows, as he says the Prime Minister and the other Ithauke ministers in government were not of concern, but only Said Qayyum. He went on to say that Said Qayyum was being touted as the one responsible for the demise of the Ithauke affairs. Prime Minister Vorengem Bainimarama says the statements were an insult to the Ithauke parliamentarians, branding it as sheer racism. Lena Rees has more.
In a debate which was about immigration matters, Anare Chale took a different path with this scathing attack.
And they blame the Attorney General for all the ills, for all the problems that Fijians are facing, the Ithauke are facing at the moment. So I would like to raise that so that he knows. They don't point a finger at the Prime Minister. They point a finger at him.
Something which did not go down well with Said Qayyum, who was taken back by this accusation.
We can have a discussion outside. I thought you were quite a reasonable person, but maybe you need to be educated a bit more about the 2013 Constitution and tell you about the rights that have been protected. And if people are going to make racial overtones and give it a racial tinge in terms of policies we are implementing, then obviously it is your duty as a member of this parliament to put them the right path and tell them the truth, not actually feed into the flames.
Outside Parliament, when approached by FBC News, Chale maintained what he had uttered minutes earlier.
They come up and say, pointing to someone who they feel that the cause of all the problem.
And who is that?
And I said in Parliament, so what else? I said it was the Attorney General.
And asked if he had proof of this, Chale's response was,
No, they don't have proof, but they say from their own assessment of things, these were what they assess things to be. And they come up and say, pointing to someone.
Said Qayyum says the support from the Fijians spoke volumes and not what Chale had said.
There are many equally, or if not more, people who are very satisfied with what the government is doing. Unfortunately, it chose to racialize it or ethnify the whole matter, and also to bring it to a particular level of division on that basis, and not talk about the subject matter. There's no proof whatsoever. There could be one or two people. There's no doubt, of course. I mean, there's no doubt. There's one or two people there, but I can tell there's numerous and thousands of people who actually agree with what we are doing.
Prime Minister Vorengem Bainimarama says he expected better from a person of Chale's caliber.
Out of the group on the other side, I thought he would be one of the sensible ones, but obviously not. He not only insulted the Attorney General, but insulted everybody on this side of the House. I think his comment was very unparliamentary.
Other government MPs are expected to comment on the matter soon. Lena Rees, FBC News.
Wangavuka Financing is not owned by Fiji Airways, the commercial banks which provided the loans to the airline, the Fiji National Provident Fund, nor the Fijian government. Minister for Economy Said Qayyum clarified this while setting the record straight in relation to Fiji Airways fleet acquisition and Wangavuka Financing Limited. Wangavuka Financing Limited is owned and managed by an international commercial services company called Vistra Capital Markets Ireland Limited, whose employees are directors of Wangavuka Financing. It holds the title deeds to the 3 A330s until Fiji Airways loans are paid. Pranita Prakash reports.
The Economy Minister says Wangavuka Financing, registered in Ireland, simply remits aircraft rent repayment from Fiji Airways to the commercial banks.
Another common practice is that the security company appoints an independent company with the required expertise to administer and manage the special purpose company. The company directors of Wanga Vuka Financing Limited are also directors of 139 other Irish companies, Mr. Speaker, sir. 32 of these companies are now closed. No matter that is expected when a special purpose company realizes special purpose. Loan is paid, company goes. Vistra Capital Markets Ireland Limited is one shareholder, which is Vistra Alternative Investments Ireland Limited.
National Federation Party leader Professor Biman Prasad has called for more information on the lease arrangements.
What does come out again from his statement, Mr. Speaker, is the lack of clarity or disclosure on the actual lease arrangement payments, for example, the loan, the sum repaid, the special purpose company, how much Fiji Airways is paying that company, to act on behalf of Fiji Airways, to transfer those payments to the banks and so forth.
Syed Qayyum says Wanga Vuka Financing Company is a neutral entity between Fiji Airways, commercial banks and export credit agency, which has guaranteed the loans. Wanga Vuka Financing does not retain any money, nor does it make any profit or record losses. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Parliament has unanimously passed a bill to amend the Public Health Act to charge foreigners quarantine fees when they enter Fiji under COVID-19 protocols. The amendment will allow the Health Ministry to regulate fees and charges for tourists requiring quarantine and medical services. Visitors will be required to pay the costs incurred by the military for security during quarantine, the Navy for sailing out to meet visitors on yachts, as well as their accommodation and medical costs during quarantine.
We being able to have the opportunity to be able to ask those that come that are not from Fiji to be able to look, giving us the opportunity to be able to build them appropriately for the measures around quarantining them, but also make sure that we set the safeguard and the processes in place to continue to keep our country COVID contained.
The Pharmacy Profession Amendment Act 2020 was passed in Parliament today, which now requires all licences to be renewed annually. Minister for Economy Syed Qayyum says it brings uniformity, whether a pharmacy licence is given to a hospital or a pharmacy operated by an individual outside hospital premises. Ritika Pratap has more.
The amendment will now ensure that all the pharmacies, whether owned by the private hospitals or owned by an individual or another company, will be able to compete on a level playing field.
The company that owns the hospital has now said that there is one pharmacy downstairs, and they've said you cannot use your health card downstairs. You must use your health card only on the pharmacy upstairs. So there could be that type of restrictive trade practice, if you like, and using that market power to be able to restrict people from accessing other pharmaceuticals.
Health Minister Dr. Ifremi Wangainambete, while supporting the amendment, says this will hold pharmacy businesses accountable.
And what has been found in the past, Honourable Speaker, is that a certain pharmacy, or for example, will abide by all the rules and regulations, tick all the boxes, and then become registered, and as the Honourable Alvik Maharaj had discussed, and then in the intervening few years, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, has completely gone astray from what the purity of the initial registration was.
This requirement will therefore level the playing field and ensure quality and safe practices by the pharmacist when delivering pharmaceutical care to the people of Fiji.
Any person already holding a valid license that exceeds 12 months must apply to the board before December 31st for an authorization to own or have a proprietary interest in a pharmacy.
Similar requirements must be followed by a licensee of a private hospital that owns or has a proprietary interest in a pharmacy business. The amendment also states that if a licensee breaches the conditions of his license, the minister must revoke it. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The National Federation Party's financial disclosures were called into question in Parliament today. Attorney General Syed Qayyum has revealed that the NFP has not furnished the Register of Political Parties with its list of donors for about 6 years. Edwin Nund reports.
Honourable members. The Fiji First wrote to the Register of Political Parties last week, only to be told there are anomalies with NFP's disclosures.
The Registrar of Political Parties says, the Fijian Elections Office is currently dealing with compliance matters in getting NFP to submit their list of donations. This party has not supplied its list of donors since about 2014, 2015.
Point of order, Mr.
Not at all.
NFP leader Professor Biman Prasad then responded that the party has lodged its audited accounts.
We have supplied all the list of donors to him. Whatever discrepancies that he has identified will be sorted out with him.
However, Syed Qayyum argued the issue is not about audited accounts but honesty and integrity by elected representatives.
Over here in their list of donations, they actually have fundraising dinner or something, 40,000, 70,000, ghost fulia. Ghost fulia means puri and ghost and meat, 30, 40,000. How many people contributed to that? Who were the people? You'll never find that in our accounts, Mr. Speaker, sir. So please, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track. When the two largest political parties can comply with the law, what's wrong with NFP not complying?
What's a gosfulia, sir?
You know that?
No, sir, I don't. For the benefit of the public, sir, what's a gosfulia?
You know that, Edwin?
I do, sir, but for the benefit of the people...
You go and ask the Attorney General.
The NFP has until Wednesday to furnish the Register of Political Parties with its list of donors. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Up ahead, massive amount announced for concessional loans, and heart patients face backlog at CWM.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Concessional loans worth $18.7 million have been approved for financial assistance to micro, small and medium enterprises struggling because of COVID-19. Minister for Commerce and Trade Fayaz Koya says Fijians who have lost their jobs will now be able to utilize their skills as more than 2,300 applications have been approved. He adds loans will be disbursed by the Fiji Revenue and Customs Service. Kritika Kumar reports.
The Minister for Commerce and Trade says more than 3,000 applications have been assessed for the COVID-19 concessional loans for MSMEs.
The assessors are continuing to assess the remaining applications, and we hope to complete the entire assessments roughly by the end of September.
The Minister says around 9,000 applications were received with a monetary value of $62 million.
These applications, ladies and gentlemen, were received from all over Fiji. 35% was from the Western Division, 41% was from the Central, 22% from the Northern Division, and 2% from the Eastern Division. I'm happy to report also that of all the applications received, 43% were from women and 57% from men.
The Fiji Revenue and Customs Services, upon execution of the agreement, will make the payments within 3 working days.
The Fiji Revenue and Customs Services will be contacting you to confirm an appointment time. For this is for approved applicants, in which you'll be asked to execute your offer letter and loan agreement. Upon this execution of agreement, Fiji Revenue and Customs Services will make the payment into your bank account.
Koya adds with many Fijians returning to their farms, they also received applications from the priority sector, which will be assessed by the Agriculture Ministry. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Colonial War Memorial Hospital in Suva has been facing a backlog of patients waiting to undergo heart-related procedures. One procedure in particular is stenting, which has only been conducted by visiting medical teams over the years. 2 local cardiologists have now started performing stenting in an effort to decrease the hospital's waiting list, but most importantly, save Fijian lives. Kelly Vavala reports.
The COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions have had an impact on the health of these patients.
There is a long list of patients waiting. I don't have the exact numbers, but around maybe for stenting we have 50 plus numbers, and for diagnostic angiogram we have a waiting list of more than 200 patients.
The cardiac team has so far successfully completed 4 stenting procedures.
These patients are high-risk patients who have very bad chest pain, angina, abnormal ECG, abnormal echo. We had done the angiogram on them, which showed a very tight lesion in an important artery. And so we risk-stratified the patient high-risk, medium, and low-risk.
Cardiologist Dr. Shaheen Yusar says there was no choice but to conduct the procedures as travel bans have restricted overseas medical teams from visiting.
At the moment, we are trying as much as possible to cover all over Fiji. So definitely we have referrals from Lautoka, from the west, from northern Lambasa.
It's now reached a stage where their peers overseas have agreed that they're at a place where they can be able to do them on their own, and it's a landmark milestone.
The cost of these procedures will depend on a patient's income or tax bracket. Otherwise, overseas treatment can incur a cost of up to 25,000 New Zealand or Australian dollars. Kelly Vadala, FBC News.
The public inquiry team looking into possible housing authority irregularities has demanded Fijians come forward with their claims. Chair Seema Shandil says any wrongs need to be corrected now so that applicants for land lots do not face similar situations in the future. Apanisa Wangarandovu has more.
The public inquiry team says the response has been encouraging and assured them their concerns will be considered.
Recommendations can be taken on board and improvements brought about for housing authority in terms of their processes, so that the people in future, the Fijian customers in future, do not they do not face the same issues. Yeah.
Apart from a lack of transparency, communication breakdown is another issue constantly raised.
Many of them are saying they have applied way back, and till to this date they have not, there was no form of communication. So that is where their great concerns are.
When questioned about delays, the housing authority said demand for lots has increased and this is delaying their process.
There's a lot of demand, influx of a lot of people coming and staying in Suva, and the supply or the rate of lots being produced or developed by housing authorities is lower.
The public inquiry team will travel to Lambasa tomorrow to gather more on concerns and grievances about the operations of the housing authority. Apinisa Wangarandobu, FBC News.
A Chinese national who murdered a sex worker in Amandi Heights last year has been sentenced to life imprisonment by the Suva High Court. 43-year-old Wang Zhiyong strangled the 33-year-old woman on the 12th of May last year. It was heard in court that Yong was working for a fishing vessel and met the victim on a dating website. Apparently, the victim was demanding more money from Yong after he had already paid her $300. When provoked, Yong pushed her and later strangled her. The High Court did not impose any minimum term but said the state will decide if Yong will serve his sentence here or be deported to China. And Whitney joins us now with the latest in business.
Thanks, Jackie. Coming up in business tonight, strict rules in place now for streaming in Fiji. And in growing Fiji waste management company for garbage collection. Stay with us.
Pula nadang bawa prosesan ngerse, go erkraki, do televisi na barong na Radio Fiji 1, nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1, nandomo ibiti.
Over 5.9 million has been spent by Doe Mine Limited exploring potential mining sites on Ono Island in Kandavo. Mineral Resources Minister Chone Usamate says the exploration license was issued to the company in 2007 after thorough consultations with the landowners. Usamate adds the license has been continuously renewed every 3 years after noting the achievement made by the mining company in terms of aligning the work undertaken to the guidelines set out by the Minerals Department. The minister highlighted that apart from its core activity, Doe Mine has extensively involved in assisting communities and land development programs.
In Nangara, some of the projects have included maintaining old roads, construction of new roads, aiding in construction of a seawall, construction of a new school dormitory for Nangara Primary School. For Matawi Vambili settlement, they have assisted in seawalls, houseboat constructions, and excavation of rubbish dumps.
Individuals and organizations who wish to live stream sporting events in Fiji for commercial gains will now need to apply for a license. This after the Television Amendment Act 2020 was passed in Parliament. The bill states in granting a license, the minister may require the licensee to pay a premium for the issue of the license or such annual fee, rent or royalty as the minister may determine. It also states that any person who contravenes subsection 1 of the bill is guilty of an offence and on conviction is liable to a fine not exceeding $100,000 or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years or both.
This will protect sporting organizations. It will not undervalue the events over which they have copyright laws or copyright rights and also proprietary rights in terms of the viewing.
We now join Sharon from HFC Bank with the latest from the money market.
Looking at the latest in Forex headlines, the New Zealand dollar is set to extend its lead against its major counterparts after the central bank governor Adrian Orr played it cool on currency. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand appears hell-bent on doing more in coming months to support their economic recovery. The New Zealand Central Bank is predicting their jobless rates will rise to 8.1% by the end of the year, and inflation will ease to just 0.4% by the first quarter of 2021. On the other hand, the Australian dollar came under pressure after their trade surplus narrowed more than expected in July. Their exports fell by 4%, while imports increased by 7%, causing their trade balance to decline to Australian $4.6 billion. For a change, the US dollar has showed some broad-based gains overnight, with the euro falling from fresh highs. And that's all from HFC Bank for now. Pinaka.
Looking at today's local exchange rates as set early this morning, the Fiji dollar gained against the Chinese yuan and the Aussie dollar today, as well as the kina, the euro and the yen. However, the Sangamoli lost a little ground against the Kiwi and US dollars. Commodities were mixed. Crude oil prices dropped slightly to under $42 per barrel. Gold prices continued down at $1,945 per ounce, and silver closed down at $27.54 an ounce. The Ministry for Local Government is now providing options for the rubbish collection to the 160 informal settlements serviced by the municipal councils. Responding to Linda Tambuya's question on rubbish collection from informal settlements, Minister Pramila Kumar says they intend to inform a waste management company owned by all municipal councils to assist in garbage collection. Koroi Tandulala reports.
The Ministry for Local Government says the Suva City Council has been engaged to assist the Nasinu Town Council with its rubbish collection, especially in informal settlements.
These settlements, mainly in Suva, Lemi and Nasinu, have two modes of waste collection, that is by skip bins and weekly truck services. Grants to municipal councils for the purchase of open and compacted trucks over the last 5 years have also increased. The total investment for these trucks has been $2.8 million.
Suva City Council Chair Isikeli Tikunduandua says many informal settlements that they service have been very supportive.
The way that the resident of Suva and even the informal settlement are actually supporting us in the way that we do our rubbish collection.
Kumar says they are working closely with the Suva City Council to help address the garbage collection issues faced by Nasinu residents.
The Ministry of Local Government is overseeing a pilot initiative which will see the two municipal councils of Suva and Nasinu leverage Suva's good practice to achieve greater efficiencies and effectiveness.
The minister adds they are taking steps in addressing rubbish collection issues in Nasinu, and they will be providing 1,924 compost bins to help the residents. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
And that's it from Business Tonight. We now join Jamie with the latest in sports.
Thanks, Whitney, and good evening in Sports Tonight. Kunatani still in Fiji after issues with transit flight. And Suva Refs steer clear of Naita CV under 19. This and more coming up.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Flying Fijians flanker Semi Konatani could not leave the country today to join French club Castres due to issues with his connecting flight. FBC Sports has been reliably informed the 29-year-old was one of a number of passengers asked to disembark an Air New Zealand flight out of Nadi International Airport before departure. His connecting flight had issues from New Zealand to Hong Kong. Konatani has been in the country since March. His family and close friends were also at the airport this morning to see off the Olympic gold medalist. The Suva Rugby Referees Association has advised the Fiji Rugby Union it will not officiate any match that involves the Naita Siri Under-19 side. FRU Chief Executive John O'Connor says the Suva referees voiced their concerns following this incident involving their member Penny Talimai Vapalangi and Naita Siri Under-19 player Keresi Maya last weekend. The judicial hearing for the incident will be held this evening, where all parties involved will present their case.
In their communication with us, they've clearly specified that they will stand down from match officiating any more of the Naita Siri Under-19 team. But we hope we can be working, they're having discussions with them to see that and hope to get a resolution before the weekend matches.
Well, there's been a lot of young talent on display in the Skipper Cup. There's been no shortage in the Vanua Championship as well. Overall Rugby has a few promising youngsters, including a former RKS Dean's winning flanker. Aquila Dama reports.
In 2018, Philip Murray was part of the RKS side that won the Sonics World Youth Tournament before winning the Dean's title a few months later. And now he's enjoying his outing in the Vanua Championship.
There's a lot of areas I need to work on. I know I have some weaknesses in how I play and will need to improve on. However, I'm thankful there are some senior players I can learn from, and that's a big advantage.
Overall coach Luke Vulo says the young players have really proved their worth.
Many of these players are young and playing at this level for the first time. Some development officers from the Fiji Rugby Union were here last week, and I'm hoping they identify some of these players.
The Ovalau side has registered 2 wins in Vanuatu against Maduata and the Kaunrove, and they hope their fans can help them get their 3rd victory this weekend.
Inviting all those who hail from Lomaibiti to come out in numbers and support us on Saturday against Mbua, because their presence can boost us on the field.
Ovalau will play Mbua at the Lekutu Secondary School ground on Saturday. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
The Fiji National Rugby League will increase security presence at all the upcoming Vodafone Cup matches. This is to ensure that no form of indiscipline and misconduct occurs. FNRL Interim Chief Executive Don Natambe says this is also done to safeguard players, spectators and officials.
We're buffing up security this weekend with the help of the Fiji Police Force, and I know we do have the military personnel that have been made available to also buff up security at our match venues. And apart from that, for the safety of all the players, we've put in barricade installments around the reserve benches to demarcate them from spectators and to ensure that they're within a safe space as well.
Despite an unfavorable run in the Vodafone Premier League, the bond in the Nasinu football team still holds strong. Only managing a win after 8 rounds of competition, Nasinu is currently at the bottom of the VPL points table, but remains optimistic of turning things around. Caroline Tavi has more.
Captain Leon Ndamundamo is proud of how far the team has come despite the challenges faced by the club throughout the season.
The boys doesn't like to take them back because we facing financial support, so we just keep on moving on, and the most important thing here is team bonding that I think that's taking us through.
As the Giant Killers are preparing to take on Rewa Sunday, one key area they will need to address is their finishing.
We lack in our finishing. I think we are one of the team that is very dangerous when doing counter-attacking, but when it comes to finishing, converting them to points, that's one area that we need to work on.
Maintaining their place in the Premier Division is the primary aim for the Nasinu side.
As you can see, the points are very close. who knows? Everybody is fighting for first and second, unlike in previous years. The points are very close, and we hope to do well against Rewa and keep moving up from where we stand during the BOG.
Rewa takes on Sinu on Sunday at 2 p.m. at Ratu Takambau Park in Nosori. Karlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
That's it from sports tonight. Coming up, Lego sales surged during pandemic. Find out more after the break.
Hi, Bula. I'm Selai from Nandi. I love Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Gold FM, only the classic hits.
And Angie joins us now with the latest in weather.
Hello to you and welcome to the Weather World. We are going downhill towards the long weekend, just a way to go. The day was fascinating with odd showers and lots of grayness in the sky. Well, that's cause of a low pressure system that is loitering above the group. Now moving to the beautiful west, sunshine hidden under grey skies. There's a possibility of late evening showers. Eastwards from Peck Harbour to Suva, more gloominess with swift winds blowing by. At night we'll see showers. And up north, the conditions here were almost same as the other centres. At sea, northeast to southeast winds 25 to 30 knots, rough seas. Turning to the tides, low tide at 1:39 a.m. with high tide at 7:46 a.m. Sunrise at 6:11. For tomorrow, finally made it to Friday. The weather looks good too. Tomorrow's temps, Suva and Lautoka will have cold nights at 21 degrees, so ensure to keep your jackets handy. And looking further on to the weekend, the weather seems fine and settled as of now, so let's get on making plans. That's all the weather news from my end. Have a great evening. It's back to Jackie.
Thanks so much for that, Angie. In Fijian Pulse, we asked, should more Fijians take advantage to raise their issues to the Housing Authority investigating team?
Since this is a platform in which Fijians can express their views, I guess they would make use of this opportunity and voice out and express their concerns. And hopefully the government will take this into consideration.
I think the opportunity for people to raise their concerns with Housing Authority as to how their application has been handled in the past has to be taken care of. But I think there also needs to be more publicity, because I didn't know that there were consultations going on with regard to people's gripes and concerns and grievances, because that's very important. People have been ripped off and opportunities for land have been taken away. So it's very important that the word gets out there, that people can make these concerns be known. But the other thing is for those concerns to be acted on. So that's the challenge that Housing Authority have.
Yeah, I think it's about time Fijians come out and raise their issues, their grievances that they have, because we have a system in place, so it's an opportunity for all to do that.
And yes, I do think that a lot of Fijian people should raise their concerns about this issue.
Recapping the main stories for tonight, opposition MP launches racist attack on AG. Wangavuka debate rages on in Parliament, and amended laws in place for pharmacy owners. For these stories and others, tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. Our poll question we're asking: should players who abuse match officials be banned from playing for life? Visit our FBC website to answer. And our shot of the day, Naitasiri village captured beautifully by Shivnil Deo. And you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos to email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj, our Facebook page FBC News, and our Twitter page at FBC_news. That's your news for tonight. Until tomorrow, from the team and I, stay safe. Bye for now.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.
Bula FM, number 2 NSR.